Thunder growled across the sky like an angry god. Rain poured in heavy sheets, soaking the earth, turning the red soil of the village into slippery clay. A crowd had gathered beneath the thatched rooftops of Amuru, a small remote village tucked in the belly of southeastern Nigeria. But there was no shelter in their hearts, only fear. In the center of the mob, surrounded by pointed fingers and cruel whispers, stood a 7-year-old boy. His name was Obinna. He was barefoot, thin, soaked from head to toe. But the strangest thing wasn't his silence. It was the tail calling out from beneath his torn wrapper, long, black, fair-lined, and alive with emotion. It twitched in fear like a snake sensing danger. "He is not one of us," shouted an elder woman, clutching her beads tightly. "A demon, a curse on our land. Throw him out before the gods punish us more." Another bolt of lightning cracked above them. Obinna stood there, trembling but refusing to cry. His mother, Ajazi, broke through the crowd, her wrapper soaked and her eyes wide with panic. She threw her arms around Obinna, shielding him. "Please, he is just a child, my child." Her husband, Ezekiel, stepped forward slowly. He was a large man, a farmer known for his strength. But tonight, he looked smaller, his shoulders hunched under the weight of what he could not stop. "Adiaze," he said softly, barely meeting her eyes. "The council has decided." "But he is your son," she screamed, "your own blood."
Ezekiel's jaw clenched. His eyes darted to the elders. They say the drought, the animal sickness, the strange dreams, all started the year he was born. She dropped to her knees, clutching Obinna tighter. "So you blame a child because of a tale?" A young man from the crowd flung a stone. It struck Obinna on the shoulder. He winced but didn't fall. His mother covered him. "Enough!" shouted the village chief, Papadoru, lifting his staff. "The gods will not bless us if we keep him. If the boy truly carries power, let the jungle decide his fate." With that, 2 warriors stepped forward. Adaisi screamed, begged, pleaded. Obinna said nothing. They dragged him toward the edge of the forest. The rain fell harder. His mother broke from the crowd and shoved a small pendant into his hand, a simple carved stone on a red string. "Keep this, my son," she whispered through sobs. "It has protected our family for generations. It will protect you." The last thing he heard before the jungle swallowed him was her voice. "Obinna! Obinna! Obinna! Obinna!" And then silence. The skies were blue that day, peaceful, warm. Adaise had given birth after many painful years of waiting. Her cries of agony had turned to cries of joy as a baby boy was placed in her arms. She and Ezekiel named him Obinna, Father's Heart. The child cried strongly, with lungs that knew life was a gift. His hair was thick and black. His hands clutched at the world as if determined to belong. But weeks later, Adais noticed something strange above her son's backside. At first, she thought it was a swelling or maybe a growth. But by his 3rd month, the bump had grown longer, forming a clear tail. A tail. Ezekiel didn't speak for a long time when he saw it. He simply stared. "What do we do?" Adazi whispered. "We say nothing," Ezekiel said finally. "We pray. We watch." They told no one. They wrapped him tighter. They pretended. But secrets in villages rot like yams in the sun. By the time Obinna was 2, The tail had grown to the length of a forearm. Thick black fur lined it, matching his head. The villagers noticed, and they did what scared people do. They whispered, "He's a spirit child. No, a cursed being. I heard he was born during the blood moon. I heard his shadow doesn't match his steps." They avoided the family's compound. Children ran when they saw him. His parents lived in denial, swearing he was healthy, normal, a gift. Only one person stood in their corner, the old medicine woman, Mama Jimmy. She came with walking stick in one hand and cowries in the other. "Do not be afraid," she told them. "He is different, yes, but I have read the bones. This boy carries balance, darkness and light, pain and healing. He is not a curse. He is an answer." But no one listened. They were too busy losing crops to heat, too busy burying sick goats, too busy watching their wells dry, too busy being afraid. Obinna grew quiet. He never asked why he had a tail, but his eyes asked the question constantly. He saw the way people looked at him, heard the names they called him: Ewu, abomination, monkey child. He once tried to join the other children in their games. They threw palm nuts at him. At night, he cried silently on the mat while his mother hummed him to sleep, her hands stroking his tail gently like it were part of his soul. One day, he asked her, "Mama, why did the gods make me this way?" Adeazen paused, then replied, "Because the world needed someone strong enough to carry something different." His father began training him in secret. They built a practice ground behind the compound. There, Ezekiel taught him balance, speed, and strength. He learned to use his tail like a limb, for defense, for movement, for grip. "You are not weak," Ezekiel said. "They fear what they do not understand, but one day they will see." Obinna nodded, sweating and bruised, but deep inside, he only wanted one thing: to belong. While Obinna grew, the village decayed. The drought worsened. Women miscarried more. Men dreamed of fire and snakes. Some screamed in their sleep. Papa Duru and his council gathered again and again, tossing bones, reading signs. They kept coming to the same conclusion: the boy is the root. Even Mama Ejime's warnings were ignored now. She said, "If you cast out the one meant to save you, who will stand when the true storm comes?" But their hearts were hardened. So they planned, quietly, waiting for the next bad sign to justify the act.
And then the rain came. Not gentle rain, but angry, howling, thrashing rain. It flooded the yam barns, destroyed the thatch. That very night, the decision was made. They would banish the boy. Let the jungle swallow him. Let the gods decide. And so, they dragged him into the storm, ignoring his mother's pleas, his father's silence, and the medicine woman's warnings. When they pushed him into the bush, thunder cracked like a whip across the sky. The jungle closed behind him like a mouth. Obinna stumbled forward, the mud sucking at his feet. He clutched the pendant close to his chest. Strange cries echoed in the dark. He was cold, tired, wet, but something deeper kept him moving. The memory of his mother's touch, the strength in his father's voice, the truth in Mama Ejime's eyes. Obinna did not cry. He walked, and when the wind howled behind him, his tail lifted, no longer trembling, but steady. And in the shadows, something ancient watched. The jungle had accepted him, and the prophecy buried for generations had just taken its first breath.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps the stories coming.
Obinna opened his eyes slowly. The smell of smoke drifted through the air. The jungle canopy above him filtered the sunlight into gold-green rays. For a moment, he didn't know where he was. Then it came back all at once. The storm, the crowd, his mother's screams, the pendant in his fist, and the exile. He was lying on a grass mat near a small fire, its flames crackling gently. Across from him, a bearded man sat cross-legged, feeding the fire with twigs, his hair white as ash, his eyes sharp but kind. "You're awake," the old man said. "Good." Obinna sat up, his muscles aching. "Where am I? Who are you?" "My name is Uzoma," the man replied. "I found you unconscious and brought you here. You were soaked to the bone and shivering like a lost chick." Obinna scanned his surroundings, an open patch of forest, a small straw hut tucked behind thick ferns, and silence broken only by bird song and breeze. "Eat," Uzoma said, handing him a bowl of steaming soup. "You'll feel
Stronger. Obinna hesitated, then accepted. The warmth spread through his body with each bite. When he finished, he wiped his mouth and handed the bowl back. "Thank you," he said, "but I need to go. My family." "Not tonight, Obinna," Uzoma interrupted, his tone firm. "The jungle does not forgive foolishness. Rest first." Obinna looked down at his tail, still curled around him. Even here, it reminded him of who he was. Uzoma seemed to read his thoughts. "That tail of yours is no curse. It is a mark, a calling." Obinna looked up sharply. "How do you know about me?" "I know many things, Obinna." At the sound of his name, Obinna froze. "You were not born by chance. The ancestors marked you from the womb, and they sent me to guide you." Obinna's eyes widened as something washed over him, a wail of warmth, then a strange tingling at the base of his spine. His vision blurred. Then he saw it. A woman holding a newborn, her eyes tired but filled with love. Her fingers stroked a tiny black tail. A man stood beside her, hand on her shoulder, both proud and afraid. Then an old woman's voice echoed, "This child is blessed. He is the one foretold." Obinna gasped, and the vision vanished. Uzoma placed a hand on his shoulder. "That was the day you were born. That woman was your mother, and that elder, Mama Ejime, she knew. You were never a mistake. You were the beginning." The fire crackled between them. Obinna's voice was low. "Then why did they cast me out?" "Because people fear what they do not understand. But your destiny will not wait for their approval." Obinna lay down again, eyes fixed on the flames. He didn't know what to say. The jungle sang around him. Insects buzzed. Owls hooted in the distance. And slowly he drifted to sleep. When morning came, Uzoma was gone. All that remained was a note burned into a tree bark beside him. "It is time. You will know what to do." All a dream? His hand drifted to the pendant. The stone posed softly against his skin. Memories rushed in. His mother's cries, the cold mud, the shame. His eyes burned with unshed tears. He pulled a sharpened spearhead from his bag. Slowly, he placed the blade against the root of his tail. "If I cut it off, I can go home. I can be like them." His tail twitched. He pressed harder. Then, whip! His tail jerked free, flinging the knife into the bushes.
Obinna sat back stunned. His tail curled protectively around him as if scolding him. He laughed bitterly. "You are stubborn," he muttered. "You won't even let me go." He sighed. "No, you are right. I won't cut you off. You are mine, and I'll give you a name. Odudu. That's what I'll call you." His tail flicked once like a bow of acceptance. Days turned to weeks. Obinna stayed in the jungle, learning to survive. He used vines to build a small hut. He crafted tools from stone and bone. He learned which berries to eat, and which to avoid. His tail, Odudu, became more than a limb. It was his friend, his weapon, his pride. The pendant his mother gave him glowed faintly during storms or when danger was near. Once it even lit up as a wild cat approached in the night. The creature paused, then turned away as if warned. Back in Amuru, the village suffered. There was no rain. The wells dried. The crops died. Then came the raid. Like shadows, they came under the moon, men with blood in their eyes and torches in their fists. Bandits, led by a man called Ndidi. Screams filled the air. The village burned. Ezekiel, Obinna's father, fought back with spear and fury, but he was overwhelmed. Bloodied and beaten, he watched helplessly as his wife Adaese was dragged away, along with other women. "Obinna," she screamed, "find us! Save us!" Her voice echoed through the flames. Ndidi's men laughed, hauling their captives into the forest. Ezekiel collapsed to his knees. Ashes fell like rain.
Back in the forest, Uzoma raised the staff and swung. Obinna blocked it with his tail. "Good," Uzoma said. They trained. Day after day, vision after vision, Uzoma taught him to wield his tail like a blade, a shield, a rope. To listen with more than ears, to strike with more than force. You have your father's power and your mother's fire. Use them well. Then he vanished again. Obinna stood alone in the jungle, his tail swaying behind him like a warrior's banner. His father was searching for Adeyase. The village was building defenses, but the bandits, Ndidi, were preparing for a final strike. He heard them before he saw them, laughing, boasting. He crawled low through the underbrush and saw the camp. Flames, swords, smoke, a cage. Inside, the women, faces pale, hands tied. He looked closer, and his heart shattered. The bandits were too many. Ndidi sat on a throne of bamboo, drunk on power, his voice full of venom. He said, "I will burn Amuru to the ground. Let the village rot." His men cheered. Obinna's hands trembled. Then he heard it, a rustle behind him. Before he could move, a hand clamped over his mouth. He struggled, his tail whipped. Another hand grabbed his waist, yanking him backward into the trees. Obinna's vision blurred, his plans shattered, his breath caught in his throat. Had they seen him? Was this the end? His mother still in the cage, his village on the edge, and now he was caught. His heart raced in silence. To be continued.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps the stories coming.